Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another of my live videos, and today I'm just going to be officially updating you on some more current latest news. So potentially I've been reading raw reports potentially of what's been going on, and reportedly Mauricio Pochettino has been linked to remove to Manchester United to take over management to replace Jose Mourinho for next season. The board, the owners of Manchester United, were actually interested in recommending him to come into the job next season. He was the number one to replace Jose Mourinho next season, potentially because Pochettino's got a 5-year deal. He's receiving about £8 million per season. With this, he signed this back in May, and potentially he's only spent a net spend. He's spent £50 million at Tottenham since he's only been there since 2014. And reportedly, he said it would cost the club Manchester United less money to sack Jose Mourinho at the end of the season if we do fail to achieve top four. Of course, so potentially Pochettino is aware of the speculation going on around him, and potentially Mauricio Pochettino has potentially come out. Spurs are still waiting for the new stadium in 2019, and he's potentially come out as Pochettino, and he's potentially said that he's happy with Tottenham. He said Tottenham value him. He said Tottenham's best hopes is for the top four. Also said Tottenham have to consistently try to achieve top four this season. Did Pochettino, so reportedly he's aware of the speculation that's going on around him, but potentially he's happy with Tottenham Hotspur, and he's happy in his home with Spurs. So Pochettino's happy at Tottenham, and he hasn't mentioned any interest of coming to Manchester United at the end of the season. So he feels happy with Tottenham. He knows he's got a good bunch of players, for Tottenham. We know he didn't spend out during the course of last summer, of course, Pochettino, but it came out in the media last couple of days. Manchester United have been heavily linked to him to the end of the season. At the end of the season, potentially it said it could cost Man United in the region of £40 million to get Pochettino. As I said, and Pochettino, as I said, in terms of silverware as a manager, hasn't won out in terms of a manager, because obviously he's been in management now, is it a decade or something like that? Because he came to management in 2009, and he's proven well in the Premier League because he's been at Tottenham like 4 or 5 years. He was at Southampton just for over a year as well. He obviously managed Espanyol for like 2-3 years or something like that. And during his playing career, he was a centre back. Pochettino, he played as a centre back, and he played in his playing career for like 18 years. Did Mauricio Pochettino, and he won 2 Cup Days with Espanyol, made up 3 century appearances. He actually started his career with Newell Old Boys. Did Pochettino? Never saw him as a player, of course, obviously, but this is who he played for. Newell Old Boys. Played for them, Espanyol. Obviously played for Bordeaux and Paris Saint-Germain as well. Did Pochettino, and obviously he's one Premier League player a month as well. But potentially, I know he's frustrated with the lack of investment Tottenham have done since he took over, because he's only spent £50 million. Compare that, in terms of spending, obviously he's on the same level as Jose Mourinho and Klopp and and all that, and Pep Guardiola, because Jose Mourinho spent 400 million or over 400 million since he's come to United on 11 players. Manchester City, Pep Guardiola spent £1 billion in his career, but more than half that has been spent on Manchester City. Jurgen Klopp spent 400 million in 6 transfer windows. So potentially can, Pochettino's frustrated with a lack of investment in his squad, but he's come out, he's actually reacted, he's aware, that he's linked with Manchester United, he's also been linked with Real Madrid as well, and he insists he's very, very happy with Tottenham, he's happy working with Danny Lever, he's happy at the club, and potentially he's consistently focusing on Tottenham getting the top 4. He said that's potentially Tottenham's best hopes as well, but potentially, as I said, do you think he'd be the right man? Do you think he'd have that winning mentality to come into the club? Do you think he'd be able? Do you think he'd have that stature to command us in that position? And we need a potential manager that can get us back competing and challenging for major honours, because we know, we haven't got the team that we had under Alex Ferguson. That was a winning team, winning silverware year after year after year, nearly. 3 decades success with Alex Ferguson as well. But potentially, regarding the rumours of Jose Mourinho leaving the club, potentially, reportedly George Mendes, his current agent, came out yesterday. He doesn't often speak public. He often speaks about Mourinho publicly. He doesn't really speak about Mourinho publicly, does George Mendes, but he came out. He dispelled the myth, and he said potentially the club are happy with Mourinho. As he updated Jesse, he said the club are happy with Mourinho. Mourinho's happy at the club. Potentially, he said Mourinho's fully committed to the club. in building a solid winning project. This is all what George Mendes has currently said, and he said with the rumours of him leaving, he said it's all untrue. Did George Mendes in relation to Jose Mourinho, and we still know there's people out there backing him. He gave us also an update on Fred. Did Jose Mourinho? He gave us an update on Fred potentially saying that Fred will have to wait until the we defensively get stronger and he said he has to wait until the team is better balanced as well. And this is what Jose Mourinho, I think he mentioned this in his current press conference. We're winless in his last 4 Premier League games, as we all currently know. So we're not in a good run of form, and we desperately need points as well. And he said, I caught some of the stuff that Mourinho had said in his current press conference. He said like, if you have a team that finishes 10th, the manager will still feel like a champion or something like that. He said it's 11, not 11 against 0, it's 11 against 11. And he mentioned about the interviewers asked him about potentially last season. He mentioned potentially teams, especially there's teams in the Premier League that have got better potential than my team, meaning us. And he said potentially last season we finished above teams that potentially have got better potential than us. And he said it's as simple as that. And he obviously gave us the Fred update as well. So I think Mourinho mainly talks a lot of rubbish. To be honest with you, he always seems to talk about what he's achieved and what he's won in the past in terms of his history. And we know he's got a good pedigree, but he hasn't done it at Manchester United because obviously obviously, I think in that press conference he was lowering his expectations, potentially saying if you finish 10th with a team, you still feel like a champion. That's what Jose Mourinho said. So he's basically lowering the expectations, but he hasn't potentially met the expectations, since he's come to the club because he's only won 3 jobs since he's come to the club. He's spent over 400 million, and potentially, and he's actually come out and admitted if Manchester City and Liverpool keep spending the way they are, then potentially Jose Mourinho feels as though that we have no chance of winning any major titles. This is what Mourinho's admitted. So he says Liverpool and City keep spending, we have no chance of any major titles because we know not competitive this season. We know this season, especially Liverpool, are on a so different level to us. Manchester City are on a different level to us as well. But potentially, yeah. So what do you think of the rumours of what George Mendes came out with? But yeah, Pochettino feels very, very happy with Tottenham. He's confirmed this is where the rumours linking him with a move to Man United next summer. Real Madrid have also been interested in him as well. But potentially, there's been rumours going on about Lukaku. Reportedly, he's becoming frustrated with Jose Mourinho, and potentially he is considering his future at Manchester United. Is Romelu Lukaku. The player we paid, was it 75, 90 million pounds for, one of Jose Mourinho's most expensive signings, of course, Romelu Lukaku, and he hasn't really developed himself this season, and he hasn't been getting mainly selected from Jose Mourinho, from the starting lineup, in the last couple of weeks, at least, and we talk about him being a big game bottler. His first touch isn't very good, and potentially, I think he wants out of Manchester United, there's Romelu Lukaku, so he's potentially getting frustrated with Mourinho. We know overall, Romelu Lukaku and Jose Mourinho have a good relationship. He's proven in the Premier League of scoring goals. He has proven to be a prolific goal scorer, but he's lacking, attack of these Romelu Lukaku, and potentially we know he's a player that, obviously when he was at Chelsea in his first season with Chelsea, he was struggling to get a regular start at Chelsea. He's been at West Brom in the past, and he'd risen up the ranks with Anderlecht, with Anderlecht, potentially went on as he made his professional debut with Anderlecht at the age of 16, did Romelu Lukaku, and he was the top scorer for them in 2009-2010. Obviously for Belgium, he holds a record goals. He's a record goal scorer, 45 goals for Belgium, the national team. Romelu Lukaku, he's proven to be a goal scorer, but he hasn't been potentially doing it this season because he's suffered quite a few injuries. He hasn't been in great form, Romelu Lukaku, and I said potentially there's better strikers out there we could have got better than Romelu Lukaku, but obviously I would have preferred Morata than Romelu Lukaku, to quite honest. He's a good goal scorer, highly experienced in Spain, and obviously now he's at Chelsea's Morata. But I said we do definitely need another attacker. We do need a strong central defender as well. But Lukaku's becoming frustrated now. I think he may want out of Manchester United, and he's considering a future with the club as well. Sanchez is the same. I think he may want out of Manchester United as well. I said he was good. We've had him since January, so I think he could be keen on the move to Paris Saint-Germain. But you can see the lack of development in the team. Sanchez has not developed himself well, since he's come to the club. He's only been here since January. He's on £500,000 a week, as we all currently know. Is Alexis Sanchez, and he was good. He's proven in the Premier League. He was a good goal scorer with Arsenal. He had a good 5 year there with them. He was good with underneath. He's good with Barca. He's been good at the other teams he's been at. He just hasn't proven it at Manchester United. I'm afraid, and obviously he's injured till January 2019. As Mourinho has confirmed about Alexis Sanchez. So I think he will potentially leave Alexis Sanchez, and we could see quite a few players leave because there's players here are beginning to come frustrated with Jose Mourinho. He said himself he wasn't convinced we was going to get any top signings in the January window. Reportedly he's going to get £100 million to spend in January. It's Jose Mourinho. Reportedly he's going to get £100 million to spend in January, but obviously I wouldn't trust him with this money because he's not even confident we can get any Glasgow signings in January. Jose Mourinho. But yeah, potentially he's. But obviously he came out saying that other teams, he admitted other teams around us are doing better than improving. He says potentially that before that Man United almost need a miracle for top four. He potentially said if I said it, I didn't mean it and all this. And he only said quite a few weeks ago he wanted to get top four by the end of the year. And we're currently sitting 8 points behind top four at the moment. But I don't think he suits the shackles of the club, and I think the board and the owners need to recommend the right man. And Pochettino's coming to the agenda, but Pochettino has insisted that he's happy with Tottenham Hotspur. So potentially, I don't there's been rumours about in the last couple of days of Pochettino coming to Manchester United, but we were linked to him quite a few years ago. As I said, Mourinho hasn't got the right philosophy for this club. Since Ferguson's left, we've spent a hell of a lot of money. You've had different managers since Ferguson's left with different philosophies and different styles of play. And potentially at this moment in time, Mourinho at Manchester United, potentially you can't compare him to Guardiola at City, Klopp at Liverpool, even Emery at Arsenal. You can't even compare him, Mourinho, to the same levels as them. As I said, and Mourinho says we do need points. Potentially this has got to be our worst start to a season, in absolutely years. People are potentially questioned about Mourinho's team selection and his current tactics, and I think his tactics and his team selection is wrong. His plan A is shit, his plan B is shit, his Jose Mourinho's, and potentially I just think he needs to get out of the club. I said regardless of who he gets in, no top player is going to want to play for us, especially, at this moment in time. Potentially, I don't think he knows his best 11. Potentially we have, we have got a really good squad, to be quite honest with you, but they're just not gelling together, as we all know. There's a lot of money that's been put in there, and potentially I think Paul Pogba, is becoming frustrated with Jose Mourinho, with Mourinho calling him a virus, and all this and slating him down. He's obviously publicly known of criticising players, Jose Mourinho, as we all currently know. He's publicly known of criticising players as Jose Mourinho, and Paul Pogba, his relationship is getting worse and worse and worse. As I said, he said quite a few weeks ago he wanted to make a move to Juventus. He was interested in the move to Juventus because obviously he's an ex-Juventus player. He had 4 or 5 good years in Juventus, so he had a fantastic pedigree with Juventus, and with them, but we paid £89 million for him, and he hasn't really delivered, proved himself in English football and delivered the goods, since he come to United. He still has got huge talent. He does have the odd good game here and there, does Paul Pogba, but we know his relationship with Mourinho is getting worse and worse and worse, and he obviously didn't start against Arsenal as well, Paul Pogba. So potentially we could see quite a few players leave, as I said. But yeah, and potentially it's been coming out in the media about Raphael Varane, reportedly the current player, Man United have agreed personal terms for the player, and reportedly Raphael Varane has agreed terms to come and join Manchester United. I think he's rated at around €100 million. Very good player indeed. Reportedly it says Real Madrid and Florentino Perez are looking for replacements for Ramos on Raphael Varane, reportedly, and Navid Manolas or something like that. Is he a Roma defender? I think he is, something like that. And reportedly, he's agreed the transfer to Manchester United, allegedly, according to the press of what I've just read. As the update of the week, it said Man United agreed personal terms for Raphael Varane. No fee had been agreed, but He's rated at around 100 million euros, which would potentially make him the most expensive defender in the world if Man United were actually, to offer a fee in, and he's rated at around 89 million, 90 million pounds sterling, 100 million euros, something like that. Next to Rafael Varane, still in his prime, would achieved a hell of a lot, with Real Madrid as Rafael Varane. Since he's been there since like 2011. He's won 15 major honours. He's made over 200 appearances, Rafael Varane. So he is in his prime, and he's a good central defender. Mourinho's obviously worked with him in the past as well, and potentially, he did well in the FIFA 2014 World Cup and 2018 FIFA World Cup as well. And he's highly experienced in France in the past as well, where he's risen up the ranks with Lens. He was there in the youth system a good 8 years. He played his senior, made his senior debut in 2010, 2011 for them, and then obviously went to Real Madrid, and he is a very, very good central defender. He's Rafael Varane, and potentially Manchester United have been linked to him in the past. So Jose Mourinho is keen on a reunion with him, because obviously we've got problems in defence. We've had injury problems in defence. Lindelof's out till December. Bailey's recently been out, made his first start against Arsenal since Newcastle. Not too sure what's going on with Jones. It said he's injured at the moment. With Chris Smalling is that, so we do need a potential upgrade, defensively, especially. But it said reportedly Man United have reportedly agreed terms for the player as well. And we know it's not only Mauricio Pochettino that's been potentially linked to a move to Manchester United. We know also Zinedine Zidane has been mentioned in the equation as well. Potentially Bayern Munich have been interested in Zinedine Zidane, because potentially Zinedine Zidane, because potentially Bayern Munich are not happy with their manager. As I said, Zinedine Zidane never played in the Premier League, never managed in the Premier League, so he's never been proven in the Premier League. But he's managerless now. His son confirmed he will be returning back to management soon. There's still pundits and people out there that think Zinedine Zidane could potentially become the next Manchester United manager to replace Mourinho, because Mourinho is the next favoured manager to be currently sat as you all know. But Zinedine Zidane, managed Real Madrid, won loads of honours with them. He's won individual honours, for himself as awards and stuff. He's won like Super Cups, La Ligas, Champions Leagues. He won Serie A with Juventus when he, played in his senior career with Juventus, and won honours, as a player for Real Madrid. And he won honours, with Real Madrid as a manager as well. Did Zinedine Zidane. He's had discussions with his representatives about coming to potentially managing English football. He's been managerless for 6 months, so he's been potentially on Manchester United's radar. But he said potentially Pochettino could be the favourite to come in and replace Mourinho. But he reportedly he's insisted that he's happy with Tottenham Hotspur, Pochettino. So. I think Mourinho's changed the whole identity of the club. Obviously, George Mendes insisted he's got a long-term contract with Man United, and essentially he said it will cost us cheaper to sack him if we do fail top four. He says, De Gea said, he's backing Mourinho, said it's the players that need to turn it around. He obviously, from De Gea's perspective, he admitted that the league is impossible. He said we need to focus on getting top four and getting Champions League football for next season. Did David De Gea, but essentially I still think he feels happy at Manchester United. Does David De Gea? He still feels happy here, but potentially his future's uncertain, and we don't know if he's going to be signing this new deal. We know he's activated that clause to extend his current contract till 2020, as David De Gea. So potentially, I don't know. We know Juventus and Paris Saint-Germain have been potentially linked with him, as we all currently know in the process. Potentially the best goalkeeper in the world. Has made over 2 century appearances since he's been in the Premier League. Risen up the ranks fantastically well. Before with Atletico Madrid, and he's highly experienced in Spain, David De Gea, and he's done very, very well. And Mourinho said he was confident he was going to sign a new deal, and before that, he said he wasn't too convinced he was going to sign a new deal. I think he may want to become the highest earner of the club. Demand the same amount of wages. Sanchez is receiving. To have any chance of persuading him, to stay at the club. David De Gea, and make him the highest paid goalkeeper in the world as well, but. Potentially, we don't know yet. He says reportedly he wants to know if Jose Mourinho's staying at Manchester United, and if he wants to know if he's still going to be next season. Then potentially David De Gea is going to potentially make a decision on his Manchester United future, whether he's going to sign a new deal or not. I do not know. But we've heard the potential rumours about potentially Jordan Pickford coming in to potentially replace David De Gea. If David De Gea doesn't sign a new deal, Pickford's been mentioned. Reportedly said Man United are planning to pay £70 million for him. I said good goalkeeper, good at Everton. He's delivered good at Everton since 2017. Recently ranked Sunderland. He's obviously got loaned out a lot of teams, but he's well proven in the Premier League. He's Jordan Pickford, and he's done good with Everton since 2017. You know, Everton paid £30 million for him. He's on the contract of Everton until 2025, as we all know. So he's got a 6-year contract with Everton. But reportedly Man United have identified him as the number one replacement for De Gea if De Gea leaves. So that's what's been mentioned in the press in the last 2-3 weeks, or something like that. Jordan Pickford's name has currently been mentioned. He was very, very good in the World Cup as well, with Jordan Pickford. But yeah, as I said, it was disappointing summer window because potentially Mourinho only got Doyle in, who made his full Premier League debut against Arsenal. You got Doyle in, he got Lee Grant in, and he got Fred in. But he said in relation to Fred, he said basically he'll have to wait until defensively we're stronger, until the team's better balanced. He said Fred will have to wait for more playing time. But obviously, I think he should get him more of the playing time because obviously, we paid £52 million for him from Shakhtar Donetsk, during the course of the summer, and we just know it hasn't been the same Manchester United since Fergie left. This is not all Mourinho's team because he's inheriting some of the team. Van Gaal got in, two of the players Moyes got in, obviously, that are still here, and we know it just hasn't worked out since Alex Ferguson left, and obviously it's changed. Obviously had them type of players, that we had under Fergie. We know there's still quite a few players here, a couple of players here that that Fergie had. Now they're still here under Jose Mourinho, but as I said, we could see quite a few players leave. I think Darmian could leave. He's coming to an end of his deal. Maybe Bailey could leave because he hasn't been potentially playing that much. Obviously, we know he played against Arsenal and that, but he hasn't been Jose Mourinho's number one choice at centre-back this season. It's been smaller than Lindelof mainly. But yeah, we could see quite a few players leave as well. But I think potentially, Mourinho, I thought when Mourinho came in, considering his history and the history of his club, that he was going to get us Gats competing and going for silverware. I thought Mourinho would have done. I thought he'd done a better job here at Manchester United when he first got appointed than Pep Guardiola at Manchester City, even though I knew Pep Guardiola has won 24 trophies in his career, broken records. City got a tally of 100 points, was it last season? He's emulated the football he did with Barca, Bayern Munich, and he's doing it now to Manchester City, and he's spent a hell of a lot of money on the Manchester City side, and Manchester City are just absolutely unstoppable, and I think they will continue spending. Liverpool will continue spending under Jurgen Klopp because Liverpool have dramatically improved, this season, especially in the Premier League because they're still undefeated like Man City, and you can't compare Mourinho to the same level as them at the moment, and even Unai Emery because he's turned Arsenal around. Arsenal look so much better under Unai Emery. Of course, they look so much better under Unai Emery. I said I think Mourinho's becoming potentially a replica of what Arsene Wenger did in the last stages of his managerial career with Arsenal. In the last, 6-7 years he did with Arsenal, I think Mourinho's becoming a replica of that, to be quite honest with you. But we know the fear factor's no longer there at Old Trafford, and I just have no confidence in Jose Mourinho because his style of play is atrocious. His managerial style at the club's not good enough. And potentially, I thought the performance stepped up against Arsenal, and I thought if we perform like week in, week out, Mourinho won't be under as much immense pressure. Since Ferguson's left, we've lost to teams under managerial areas that we shouldn't really lose into, that we wouldn't lose to under Fergie. And potentially, we'd lose at most 6 games a season, under Alex Ferguson. In one season, we'd only lose like 6 games a season, but we just find it very, very difficult under Jose Mourinho to find that confidence, that momentum, and I want him out. The majority of United fans want him out. Potchettino said he's happy with Tottenham. He said he consistently wants to get top 4 with Tottenham. He said that's their best hopes, and he's happy at Tottenham. Tottenham gives him the value, he said, and he's come out with other things as well, and he's happy with Tottenham. Pochettino said he's not happy, obviously, with their lack of investment in terms of purchasing or spending, because obviously it's frustrated because they've only spent £50 million since 2014, as we all currently know, but But Lukaku, as I said, he's proven to be a prolific goal scorer in the past. But Lukaku, as I said, potentially is becoming now frustrated with Mourinho because he's not getting picked from the start. He's Lukaku, so he's becoming frustrated with this as well. Is Romelu Lukaku, but Mourinho. Sorry, guys. But Mourinho says if Liverpool City continue spending, Man United cannot challenge for titles. As I said, and he's, stemming from that press conference he did, he's currently He's currently lowering the expectation levels, as we all currently know, and potentially, yeah. Pochettino is the favourite to take over Jose Mourinho, but Pochettino said he is currently happy with Spurs. And George Mendes, in relation to what George Mendes said, he hardly ever publicly speaks about Mourinho. He came out saying he's happy with the club's happy with Mourinho, the club's happy with Mourinho. He said potentially he's fully committed to Man United. He said the rumours about him leaving is untrue, and he said he's fully committed to Manchester United in building a solid winning project. And this is what George Mendes has publicly said about Jose Mourinho. As I said, so he's totally dispelled the myth of him leaving Manchester United. And there has been people still backing. There's still people, that currently want Jose Mourinho out, as I currently said. So I'd like to know your opinions and comments below. Drop your comments below on the channel. As I said, Manchester United Fulham today, 3 o'clock kickoff. The review will be coming up later on. I can't watch it because it's not live on TV unless I can try and stream it online. Going to that game, Fulham bottom of the league, worst goal difference in the league. Had the manager sacked early on in the season, Zlatko Jonkovic, as I said. Ranieri is now the new manager, and Mourinho said, potentially Fulham could come to Old Trafford and give us a difficult game. Obviously, last meeting was 2014 between Man United and Fulham. 81 crosses, most produced in a game since 2004. Crosses, that was under the David Moyes era. We haven't lost them Old Trafford since 2003, as I said. And this is going to be the 10th meeting between Claudio Ranieri and Jose Mourinho in all competition. So it's going to be interesting to see how Mourinho lines up. It says reportedly Martial's doubtful after he potentially came off against Arsenal. He limped off. Said he's doubtful, but we do need. He could still start. I don't know, but I hope he does because he's without doubt being our best, outfield player this season. Is Martial. Luke Shaw. It says he could be down. I think Ashley Young will be turning. He will be returning. I think today, obviously because he had a 1-match suspension, but he missed the Arsenal game due to a 1-match suspension that I had. Maybe Valencia could potentially start in the game as well. I do not really know. Do not really know, but what do you think to rumours of Lukaku considering his future now at Manchester United, becoming frustrated with Mourinho? Obviously, he's won honours himself, Lukaku. He's proven to be a prolific goal scorer. He scored 45 goals for Belgium. When he was at Everton, he scored 25 goals, 26 goals in one season with them, and potentially, he's won Everton Young Player of the Season, Everton's Player of the Season, Everton Player of the Season, Everton Players Player of the Season, Everton Young Player of the Season. So he has individually won awards for himself as well, and he's won a few awards, when he was at Anderlecht, where he was up the ranks, Romelu Lukaku. But I thought in his first season he was great at Man United, but I think this season he's been very, very poor indeed, and he's struggled to find that form as Romelu Lukaku, as we all currently know. So anyway, guys, that's everything updated today. Drop your comments, likes below on the channel if you do consider subscribing, and we'll be back later for more news to update you. So take care, God bless, guys. I'll see you all again very, very soon. Take care.